Hey, this is Tracy Lewis from Stuff and Things with another Winter is Coming Wednesday episode. I believe this is number 7. I am finishing up ornamental envelopes by discussing the dotted lines for the address, as well as a Thanksgiving card. Last week I did an ornamental Christmas card. This week I'm going to do a variety of Thanksgiving cards. 3 of them are done. I will demo one, and then I will walk through varying ways to finish them. And I believe I'm not going to do a showcase this week of those. I will do a showcase of what I do with them next week, because I want to get this episode out, and I'm not going to have the time to finish all of them. One of them will be a beginner, so it will be mostly finished. Then I'll do a casual and maybe a couple of avids. So we'll start off with making the envelope. For making the envelope, I did use the Stamparatus to show you kind of a production way of doing that. In fact, the way I will probably do this is have the lined stamp be on my Stamparatus tool through the winter. I have, with the Stamparatus, I bought the extra plates. So what that means, I'm reaching back here to get one, is that I have 4 different plates. So one of them can be dedicated for the envelope stamping. And I also have the grid paper, which I highly recommend. So this grid paper comes in a pack. I don't know how many sheets. You get lots and lots of sheets. One side here you can see is centimeters, a metric system, and the other side is in inches. So I am using the inches side. And here is my plate already done up. I do have my sheet here already done, and then I should talk about the layers of the Stamparatus for those of you not familiar. If you're using photopolymer stamps, you need to use the foam pad. You receive with the Stamparatus this black foam pad. I went ahead and purchased a white one with the grid. Then you set your grid paper up, and then your envelope goes in place. In my case, I'm using the green lines. I want my 4 lines to be lower because I will be mailing. If you're making them to give in person, you might want to center this, and that's what the lower pink lines are. And then you can use those 4 lines to decorate the person's name any way you want. You can make it super big, add decorations to it, whatever you want to do with it. Alright, so I am going to be using this one for a fall card, so I've got my ink already. The only trick I can say to this stamp is that those dots are very fine, and if you don't want them to look a little mushed and uneven, you need to probably tap down lightly. So that is definitely a trick to using this stamp, and really any dotted type stamp. Now the nice thing is, with the Stamparatus, you can see how those dots came out so nice. I have full control over the weight of this plate. So I like how that came out. And then before I take it off this plate, I'm going to go ahead and add, I've got Gather Together for the fall. I forgot to show you that. So this is my fall set that I'm using. And I am going to ink up pumpkins. And if you were doing lots, like if I was doing 20 of this same card that I'm going to show you today, I could go ahead and add the pumpkins to the plate and then stamp them all at once. So there's that guy. And that is an example of just how quick it is to stamp up the envelopes when you're using the Stamparatus. So you can see how you can really quickly stamp 20 envelopes and be done. Alright, so that is the envelopes. I'm going to clean that off before I put it away. I'm not going to clean it off because I don't know where my chamois is hiding. Okay, moving on to cards. So, these cards you can use as many or as few steps as you would like. I will show you the stamping of one very quickly. I am using two colors. Soft Suede is the darker color, and this one that I'm going to stamp for you while you watch is on Crumb Cake. You will need something to clean your stamps off. Pardon the dirtiness of my chamois. They're filthy, but I love them and use them all the time. So, oops, I am going to be doing the chalk white or whisper white ink. That's what I didn't have last week. I have no idea what happened to my whisper white. I had it and then it was gone. So it's probably in a perfect hiding place, and I will find it one day and say to myself, that's where that is. I wondered where I put you. So I'm going to do a base on 2 of the 3 stamps in white. I just want a little extra pop. And then this white will tie into the 3rd element, which has also a white element to it. The biggest thing is to remember to clean your stamps when you're mixing colors, because I have already messed up on the white and got some dark on it and had to clean it. So that's kind of my only tip for mixing. Now I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to start with the one dark element that I didn't do light. And you could do light with this one. I just thought since it was so dainty that it didn't need it. Now I'm going to have a hard time demoing this. I demoed this at my paper pumpkin, where you're lining something up by looking through the stamp. And if I were to get my head in the camera, then you wouldn't be able to see me stamping. So I'm going to try to do this without actually looking down. But your goal is, and I put my craft glasses on when I am looking down, you're looking for some white. And for me, this of thanks is so small, I decided I wanted to look for a little bit of white peeking off of the top of the 2 S's. That's my guide. And again, since I can't quite reach my head all the way out, it's going to be difficult. Let's see if I can. So I can see the 2 S's. And you're just getting a little bit of the white to show through from behind, and then I'm going to show a couple of other tips for bringing out the whites. Alright, so now I'm looking at the two tops of the pumpkins. Alright. And now the last element that puts it all together. There's a berry stamp. This berry stamp here, I am going to color in the white. I have re-inked my white almost every time I've made a card because I want that white to be really prominent. So the trick with this is to start with the end berries being off of the end of the brown. On the crumb cake, oh, you can see that. Yep, so you can see the white. If you wanted to, as a clean and simple card, this would be plenty. So I haven't taken a picture of this card to have it as a clean and simple. So now I'm going to go away, film it, and then I'll come back and I'm going to add more to it. So I'll be right back. Alright, I took a picture of my clean and simple version. And now I'm going to get a little crazy. So from here, I want to add some speckles. And then I have some finished ones with a variety of speckling. You just have to experiment. It's hard to know what tool you're using. Each tool leaves a different type of speckles. You can use stamps to do the speckles if you want. And it just depends on what kind of speckler you are. So I have a variety of different aqua painters. You can use a paintbrush. You can use a toothbrush. I will tell you, if you use a toothbrush and you run your hand along the bristles, you will get, or your finger along the bristles, you will get very fine speckles. So if you want really small speckles, that is definitely the way to go. So how I do this is, you can see I've already done some and I'll give you examples. You can either apply the ink like this with either of them and then ink up from there. In my case, I really want this white to be quite thick, so I'm going to go ahead and apply some directly from the re-inker bottle. And I have one that I used earlier that already has white on it. You have to watch the water volume. Have a paper towel handy in case you do get an actual heavy water droplet on it. You will want to pat that off carefully because it will eventually swell your cardstock. So if you don't want that look of the cardstock being swollen, you will want to use that. So I use, and it's very messy, I've got my mouse pad white, I've got my desk white, and then of course all over my grid paper. So see, now I'm getting a whole bunch of water, so I just have to grab my thing and pat it off quickly. So this is the joy of doing something live. It wasn't doing water droplets earlier. So we're going to try again. I'm getting really small speckles. And just keep applying more water. I see some speckles. I'll show you up close what they look like. And if you have tips on your own way of doing this, you can leave it in the comments. There's so many different ways to do things. Maybe I'm doing it the hard way. Okay, so I'm going to show you up close. Got more drops. I'm going to dry those off. Okay. They're very faint. And then my brown one. The brown, of course, is going to be a more obvious. So I'm just carefully applying. You will get some light spots, some dark spots. That's why if you want the dark spots, going with a stamp is the better choice. All right, so this is a light. I just don't want to take a ton of time because it is time consuming if you're going for a certain look. So that is what this looks like. Very faint, not too strong. I am not quite done with that one yet. I'll come back to it. All right, so here are some others. I have a full page. This only has brown. Pretty strong brown, all over, blotchy. This only has white like the one I just did. It has white and brown, and you can hardly see them because of the crumb cake color. It's pretty light. This one has been trimmed down already, and it actually has only brown and gel pen. It actually has two sizes of gel pen, a very fat gel pen and then a very fine gel pen. I will demonstrate some of the gel pen finishes. And then I have a soft suede with white with no gel pen, and this was a fresh white speckling and it came out really, really faint. And I may leave this one as is. I have to think about whether I want to add some white gel pen. So I'm going to grab one that has not been gel penned yet. Just for a total, I have 5 that I'm working on, which for me is a lot. That's why I went ahead and went with 4 of the crumb cake ones, and then I have 1 of the soft suede. All right, so this is a 0.05 gel pen, which I prefer. I actually had grabbed a heavy gel pen in the largest size, which is the 10. And so I will do a couple of the balls have dried and they're very faint. So I use this large one to easily get some marks, and I'm just going over where the white berries were. The goal is to try to not get them to look too structured, so you want them to look somewhat random, but you are really purposefully putting them like 3s. Odd numbers are better. So be sure to add, like that one I did was a 3. And it takes practice to get good at doing random dots. Then for the detail around the pumpkins and the text, I switch to the 5. And I just add some little highlights. And then I even added some lines. That's how I did the other ones. I added some and then add some very light remember that I'm looking at the white. You can't see it from there, I don't think. I'm even adding a couple of little dots here and there because there's already some faint white dots from the speckling job that I did. You can do as much or as little of this as you want. Then let's say on one of them I got a little too much white in the brown, and so this fine point Many Marvelous marker, by the way, this is 2 years old. I bought it a long time ago, and it does a great job, the fine point does, to darken your text if for some reason the white that you stamped over is leaking through, because it is a pigment, so it's a stronger ink than the dye ink. You can always come down here. You can even add some lines. So you can just make this your own piece of art. So that is the total of what I wanted to film today. And then I will go away for next week and I will finish these off. I probably won't talk about them if I do a video, which I've been videoing each week. I will just have them in the showcase at the end so you can see what I ended up doing with these. And that's all I want to do on this one. Not a lot of dark. You can even do some dotting with the Early Espresso Stampin' Write marker. And I'm going to lay these out together so you can just kind of see what that all look like. Let's show you this one up close. So that's the one that I was just doing the different colors of white and Early Espresso inking. Let's see if I can fit them all on here. I may go ahead and take pictures of these all unfinished so you can see them all, but I wanted to try to get them all together. Oh, you can see most of them. All right, so that is the best I'm going to get, unless, here, let's see if I can go a little farther away. All right, so that is the focus for this week. That's all I have for you. Again, be sure to leave comments, questions, suggestions, if you have tips on what I demoed today, on how to do the speckling differently, please leave the comments. And I hope this gets your creative juices flowing. Thanks for watching. All of the products you've seen demonstrated today from Stampin' Up! Are available on my store at
stuffandthings.com/shop, which redirects you to Stampin' Up. I am an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I can sell to folks in the U.S. only. Before you go, please like this video, leave your comments, questions, and suggestions, and remember to subscribe to my channel for more card making tutorials.